So this week could be the turning point for Bitcoin. We've got CPI data. We've also got trade talks that are quite hard to navigate right now. But what's mad is no one cares about Bitcoin being towards its all-time high again. I'm going to break it down in terms of news and technical analysis, and I'm also going to showcase what I'm going to be doing. So if you want no hype and just data-driven stuff, hit a like on the video. It kind of helps. So when I talk about no hype, I mean fucking shit like this. It annoys me because stuff like this, where people edit photos and they talk about stuff like this, it really annoys me. It really does. Because in actual fact, this is the real data that you need to follow. People have been doing this for a while on X. They've been doing it on YouTube. They are manipulating data to make it look bullish to engage in terms of farming. Not ideal. But let's look at the real stuff here. We have CPI data this week. Lovely. It's actually tomorrow. And 8:30 tomorrow in the US, you're going to find out what's going to happen here. Are we going to go lower, which is probably very unlikely, or are we going to come in a lot worse than we expect? This is the thing. So the consensus currently is 2.5. So that's going to be up 0.2, so to speak. Now, give or take, it depends on where it goes. Now, obviously, the market is expecting this to kind of stay rather flattish and kind of just probably go to 2.5, which is more often than not, the consensuses are usually not that far apart. But basically, put it this way, if we miss, it could equal bullish, if that makes sense. As in, if it goes at like 2.4 or 2.3 here, and it is nowhere near the consensus, that could be really bullish, and that could equal rate cuts a bit quicker than we anticipate. Now, a surprise to the upside would be maybe it coming in at 2.6 or 2.7, where it goes up quite a lot. That could be hawkish, and that could be risk off sort of situation. So we need to be very, very mindful with this one. Now, we also have trade deals kicking off. This is in London. It's, China deal. Trying to navigate how this is going to work. It could be bullish for the market if it is a good, favorable deal. But ultimately, we're at a situation where Bitcoin is at all-time highs. Whales are accumulating. Companies are accumulating. And we've got a trade deal going on. There seems to be like the spat between Trump and Musk has kind of settled itself down a little bit. But the reality is here, we've got to get all our ducks in a row. The big thing is, and I'm going to talk about in this video, so don't bugger off, is altcoins and why they're not moving versus, say, Bitcoin, and when we could be getting a potential alt season if certain things kind of do its magic. That is where the biggest concern is for me. And I've said that before, when Bitcoin leads, what the altcoins do. And even when we talk about that, let's talk about this bit. MicroStrategy are still buying Bitcoin like it's going out of fashion, which is fair enough, right? Average price is all here. You can see what's happening. They bought a decent chunk, but they've bought a decent chunk consistently for the best part of 2 years. Now, then again, you can talk about certain situations. Yeah, other companies are also accumulating. And even when we talk about companies, we talk about the facilitation of ETFs, of normies, so to speak, buying into Bitcoin more than anything else, right? This is the first fund, the IBIT fund, to surpass 70 billion in under management, the fastest ever done it. Wow. In just 341 days. That is 5 times faster than the previous record set by a gold ETF. Wow. Okay. So this makes life easier for people, which may be why altcoins are not performing. Which is probably why a lot of people hate me, because I talk about altcoins more than often and they're not performing. Not my fault, just the way it is. There is certain metrics, and I will remind you of those metrics, what to look for. But right now, Bitcoin is leading, Bitcoin dominance is going up. It's a problem. And we just can't change that. We have to remember Bitcoin is king until otherwise, right? But again, I talk about it in more detail. We have to look at the fact that many, many US companies, even Japanese companies, are looking to scoop up Bitcoin. Not crypto, Bitcoin, right? They're different. So this is where it looks very, very interesting. We could talk about the likes of Circle coming into the game. You've got all the cryptocurrency miners that are also scooping up stuff and doing all kinds of bits and pieces. They're buying still. Robinhood, for example, are still looking interested in the likes of Bitcoin. Yeah, and obviously, yeah, public companies here. It's happening. It's been happening for a while. It's just, when does it stop? And when do we get that supply shock? When do we get a situation where miners have to offload their Bitcoin to then facilitate, the likes of, institutions? It's coming soon by the sounds of it. Now, I'll be the first to admit, I have been out of the loop quite a bit the last few days. I've been in and out of hospital with the other half. She's expecting the baby very, very soon. It's gone a bit madness. So bear with me. Bitcoin had a bit of a wobble on Friday, if you remember. We had a bit of a shakeout. And it caught a lot of people off guard. Now, I was quite happy. I was in short on altcoins. I took my profit on my Solana trade, and I'm happy. But I am waiting for the next move. And this is where I'm going to analyze it for you guys. If you want more analytical stuff and more in detail stuff, join Patreon. That will give you a lot more detail. Now, let's talk about the simples. Bitcoin went and corrected down into that key level of 102,000. I've mentioned this before quite a few times. That is going to be a key level. The next big, beautiful level will be the psychological area around 100K. Kind of obvious. In some ways, we've pretty much tapped it. The reality is here, this has kind of spooked people a lot and caught people off guard. And this is why Bitcoin is amazing, because it does whatever the fuck it wants. It acts like my 6-year-old. It just does whatever she wants, whenever. You get the idea, right? So this is interesting. Now, you could argue a few things. I believe that Bitcoin is going to lead significantly, and that's going to hurt people's opinions. The thing is, with this leading, it's going to become a bit of a problem for a lot of people, especially if they are chasing the altcoin dream, because Ethereum, in my eyes, has not followed it, and I don't know when that will follow. That's the situation we find ourselves in, and all the news backs up that, in terms of we've had a situation where Bitcoin's had a big, massive run, ETFs are flying, all that kind of stuff's happening, and even in that time period where it's been extremely bullish, Ethereum hasn't run with it. That's my biggest concern. So when we talk about obviously this is obviously the all-time high, right? I took a little bit off the table there, 2-3 weeks ago on the 22nd. You can see it on there. And I did. If you want proof, it's in my Discord. Now, I took a little bit off the table because I was expecting baby to arrive, coming soon, right? We are back up there, which is brilliant. And I'm happy that has happened, even though I still believe we're going to go much higher. I still have, and you know this if you've been watching my videos, 156 to 210,000 is kind of where I'm like, oh, fuck it, that's getting a bit too euphoric. But the situation is, if we are there, what does Ethereum do? That could be interesting. Now, in terms of this overall, when we talk about the likes of the trade tariffs and the bollocks there, and it has been really shitty, we have recovered incredibly fast. A V-shaped recovery, as you would per se. We have to get past this all-time high in the next couple of days, and then we need to see where we go from here. The problem is, as I say, if CPI data is not good, it may well rumble it a little bit. There is always going to be a situation where we're going to find levels of support, in my opinion, at these levels, because people are demanding Bitcoin. That is hugely important. So for me, we've got to obviously break this. I think there's going to be a lot of bear fatigue up here. There's going to be a lot of people up here that have been trying to be bearish, selling off distribution, whatever it may be, and then eventually it'll just run out of steam and it'll just go boom. We've seen that in the past, though. As I've said before in previous videos, whenever you do break an all-time high, finally, we go boom. That was obviously, as you can imagine, not too long ago. When we go back into the previous cycle, when we talk about all the way down here, when we talk about like the 20K retest, so we obviously had 20K, we came up and we dropped a lot, and then we went into these regions, which is quite important, by the way, just saying. But once we finally broke above that 20K level, which took a bit of going, it really took off. Just kind of give you a bit of context. So it does happen, and it probably will happen again. My biggest concern, and I mentioned this before, I mentioned it on my Learning Crypto live stream the other day, actually. I don't want us to do a period like this where we go ranging for a long time. We've already had this situation already, right? We've already went all-time high, all-time high again. Are we going to, we don't want to follow this pattern. We're already at this sort of period here of, where is it there, June. So that's June in the previous cycle. We don't want to kind of reject it again, then go back down. Seller may go away, June shit, July shit, into Q4, which Q4 is often quite bullish. So ideally, I want us to just go forward a little bit. It'd be quite nice. But just be mindful. It may reject and may go sideways for a while. We know that summer months in crypto can be really shit. But as I've alluded to it, I've said about Ethereum, I've said about altcoins, and what is annoying is the fact that it's not playing ball as you would anticipate. What I mean by that is, in previous cycles, if Bitcoin is really bullish, and you can make any argument you want, right? Going from 15K to 112K, you would have expected something to happen. Just saying, I think everyone in the room, even if you love me, hate me, or whatever, you would have expected, well, maybe, yeah, you're right. And this is where we are right now. this is the Ethereum dominance. Well, no, sorry, Ethereum slash BTC. We are consolidating quite nicely. We have got a kind of a hidden bullish divergence on the RSI, which is, yeah, it's a bit wishy-washy, not the greatest in the world. It's potential at the minute. Where we go from here could be interesting, but ultimately we've got to talk about the likes of Cathie Wood, ignoring the likes of XRP, Solana. That could mean undervalued. Bitcoin dominance is still rising. Altcoins continue to bleed in the short term, right? And this is the thing. My overall opinion right now, I'm not expecting an alt season until Bitcoin really cools off, and I don't think it's ready to do that. With Bitcoin, what we have is volatility. We have retests of all-time highs. We're dropping back down to support. We're going back up again. It's really zigzagging. It's catching people out all the time, right? This is also showing sign of life, but not the best. And even though I was doing bullish videos on altcoins a couple of weeks ago, we had signs of life, but it just stopped. It just went, no, because Bitcoin was volatile. That's the problem. And we could talk about all these little factors, and as you know. So what you look for, we want this to go down. Want this to go down, down, down. That would indicate existing liquidity is coming back into the market, whether that's going into Bitcoin or into altcoins. Obviously, the altcoin trigger would always be euphoria, so to speak, and retail coming back because they were, oh, fucking hell, Bitcoin's flew. That hasn't happened yet. The other situation, obviously, the total 3/BTC, this needs to start going up. This is still falling. That would indicate that, literally altcoins are getting lower and lower as Bitcoin's getting higher and higher. That becomes a problem, and thus that gives us a high dominance reading, which is still up here. We had a little bit of a baby kind of run on altcoins. Like, it was so small, it kind of just stopped within a fart whisker. It was shit. It was annoying. So yeah, bit of a problem. But for me, Ethereum has to do something, but it hasn't done it yet. And we could talk about all these dominances, and we could talk about the other /BTC as well. They are still all in downtrends, which is unfortunate, even though we had this sign of life in May, which looked like it was going to change, but it was just a fake out. So going back to what I'm doing, I was trading Solana. I got a really good uptrend. I got a really okay downtrend, and we had a 13% correction in 2 days. A little bit of a crash, you could argue. Now, this is a situation we find ourselves in. Right now, I am waiting to see what happens. Now, I probably won't get this next move because obviously life's busy, but a lot of altcoins are looking relatively interesting right now. Yes, we've had a change of character, not looking great, but we could also have a change of character back to up to the bull side very, very soon. If it breaks above this region, get above the EMAs, if our RSI starts to trickle up, if this starts going down again, it may well be favorable for longs again. But that may be only because Bitcoin's doing well, which is where the big caveat is. Because if Bitcoin starts doing well, but obviously it has those little wee sharp corrections, it may well make these collapse, and that could lead to a further fucking hard trade to kind of follow. Whereas what we're seeing right now with the likes of the Solana BTC pairs and obviously other examples, we are in a downtrend, so we have to be very, very mindful. This needs to start doing something, and it's not doing it. Obviously, it's in a bit of a downtrend. It's looking ugly. So I made money on the way up. I made money on the way down. I may get bitten on this next move because the market isn't giving us a clear path, so we have to be very, very mindful. The same with obviously Ethereum as well. We're at this level of like resistance here. We've had that many rejections. If you've been trying to trade this since literally the 10th of May, which we're talking a fucking month, pardon the French, you cut up that many times, you've probably lost a lot of money. Look at what that James guy is doing on X. Absolutely useless. Same with Link. You could argue similar sort of vibes where we've had a nice little correction. We're in a downtrend, but we are starting to show some signs of life here. But again, the BTC pair looks like a dog's dinner. So we have to be very, very mindful. It really is a Bitcoin show right now, which is really annoying. We need to get a really solid move. We need that change to happen, that shift to happen with dominance and everything to move around. That hasn't happened yet, which is a bit of an issue. So yeah, dominance is up. Ethereum is sideways. Altcoins look weak. Bitcoin is, ranging at the highs right now. So we have to be very, very mindful right now. As I say, I'm just chilling. But I've got to. I'm in and out of hospital. Life. But we go back to it. Post CPI, hot CPI, cold CPI. It could all trigger everything happening all at once. And then we've just got to be reactive to it, whatever happens. So, yeah. I'll keep you updated on my Patreon if I can. I may be in a load of scrubs and gowns and stuff and maybe have baby goo all over me. But hey, I'll give it a good go. And before I go, link below to Your Money Mate. I will be doing dividend investing videos on there. A lot of people have been requesting that. A lot of people have been subscribing, which is good to see. I don't know when I'm going to start doing this, by the way. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. Who knows? I don't know. And there we go. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you think CPI is going to be good or not? Who knows? God knows. I mean, it's crazy at the minute. Who knows? And as I say, full plan, full journal of what I'm doing, what I'm following, if I'm trading anything or if I'm just, God knows what I'm doing, in Patreon.